wasn't liveaboard at this point, so I had to commute to the boatyard from my apartment. I'm sitting in the boatyard and I've only got a few more days left before I splash. I was scraping off some varnish. I've discovered that a lot of the wood is falling apart. So I've got a much bigger task than I thought I had. I actually got up at 5:45 this morning, which is really unusual for me. Just after 7. And it looks like I'm going to be the first person in the boatyard to begin work for the day. That's a first. I'm embarking on a single-handed circumnavigation of the world on a 28-foot boat. Aboard the Hoyden, I'm joined by Minette, my cat of 6 years. I just lifted the hatch off of the frame, and there was no resistance whatsoever. There was absolutely no sealant. I've decided to take the approach of using epoxy rather than varnish. My boat is 40 years old. I'm filling my hatch up with water with the idea that if there are no leaks, then water won't leak out of it. And if no water leaks out of it, then no water should leak into it as well. So, yeah, it looks like it's working. I got paper towels under it. Here's the old tiller that I've just replaced. See, it's been severely delaminated and the wood is starting to rot. You can see it's quite a large tiller. It's about 6 feet long. And I've replaced it with a much smaller tiller, but with a tiller extension. So it should be much more comfortable to use because you can sit pretty much anywhere in the cockpit and control the tiller. And it also folds in half like that, so it's up out of the way and doesn't take up so much cockpit space. We'll give it a test this weekend. We'll see how it goes. Just before I set sail for the San Juan Islands last summer, I came to terms with a battery problem. Whenever I unplug the shore power, which powers the battery charger, the battery plummets to the point that they need to be recharged in the space of 1 hour. I didn't know for sure, but through a process of elimination, I suspected it was the battery charger that was the problem, not the battery themselves. I have 4 105 amp hour flooded lead acid batteries. I've been motoring all day, and it's okay because 1 knot of wind. I'm not missing out on any sailing, and it's something I have to do anyway, whether there's wind or not, because otherwise I'd have to stay at the dock until I get a new charger installed and get my batteries up to where they should be. So I'm counting on this outing to bring my batteries up to where they should be. Battery bank 1 is down to 12.6. Battery bank 2 is down to 12.6. So I know that made a difference using the engine charging rather than the charger. Apparently that's not enough to recondition the batteries, so I've shut everything off. That means everything in my refrigerator is going to have to keep until I can plug back into shore power. I'm going to stay out here. I'm not going to run back into the harbor. I've got enough power to start the motor in the morning. 12.6 is plenty because I am in a fabulous spot. Lots of wildlife around here. The next day, I returned to the marina. I spent the next couple of weeks upgrading my battery charger. This resolved the problem. So I'm looking at a chain plate that's on the back of this shelf. This is what I discovered last winter. This acts as a backing plate for the hull-to-deck joint bolts. There's a section that's completely rotted out because of this one fastener has been leaking for years and dripping on it. That's the underside of the hull-to-deck joint, because that's all it is. It's a backing plate. It's not structural. It might provide a little structural stiffness. It would work just fine without it. So I'm not going to worry about that, replacing that rotted backing plate wood. The fastener I'm trying to get out, I've got the vice grips on the nut right here. The top of that screw is on top of the tow rail outside, and it's corroded really bad, and I'm not able to get it unfastened, so I think I'm just going to cut it off with a multi-tool. This was the second time I sealed this hatch. I used plenty of sealant this time. A more thorough job. Winter was just behind me. Not many days where sealant and epoxy would cure during daytime temperatures. Took off for 1 day on my trip out of a 2-week trip, and I came back home the next day. The engine was running way too hot, and there wasn't enough seawater being pumped through it to the heat exchanger. So I turned around and I came back. I made sure that the strainer was clean, and then also there's a strainer on the outside of the hull. Made sure that was clean. Took off again today. Within 30 minutes it was already too hot, and it wasn't pumping nearly enough water. So I've turned around and come back to my slip, and now I've pulled my raw water pump. I've never done this. I did the coolant pump impeller this year, but I didn't do this one. And there is a little bit of a silver lining behind this, because I was watching another YouTube channel where it showed him installing this Balmar universal adjustment arm and belt buddy. So this would be a good opportunity to do that. So this allows you to tension the alternator belt right here, which I've got off, which slips all the time on mine because I've got a high output alternator. It's 125 watt. When the engine is cold, this thing squeals, and sometimes even when it's hot it squeals, so it needs a really sensitive amount of tension. I'm not able to pry against anything in here without damaging it. I've got one problem at the moment. I'm here. Inside of here is the beer, and in between me and the beer is all my tools. Every time people upstairs in the unit use their sink, it drains down here and leaks out of here onto the floor of this cabinet, runs out onto the rug. And that's why I've got this towel here, because it's full of the neighbor's gray water. There it goes. Woke up this morning, turned on the light, and a cockroach was running around that. Ran over here and down in there. This is the Comfort Inn in Santa Nella. Hey there, Minette. Check out the beach. Yeah. Look at this. Hey, Minette, come on out. The weather's fine. Yeah. Check out the sand. Yeah, ice plants. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to attempt it. Pretty beautiful little spot. You got a blowhole, you got an arch, you got a sea cave over there. Looks a little too rough to attempt. Yeah, it looks way too rough to attempt to go through there. I'm replacing my compass. As you can see, the one on the left is the one that I'm replacing it, and I'm replacing it with that one right there. Both of them are Ritchie. The problem is, as you can see, it's no longer the same size and therefore no longer the same footprint. What I've done here is I've marked some guiding lines. I was able to come up with the center line horizontally and vertically. And using those horizontal and vertical lines, I'm able to take this template and match it up. You're supposed to drill a hole for the compass light wire to go through right here, which I've done that. And that's right on the center line. I went ahead and punched a hole through the template for this. That will aid a lot in lining it up. What I'm planning on doing is using a trick that I've learned on a YouTube video, and that is spraying the template backside with Elmer's glue, the spray on glue. Okay, it's been about 3 minutes. Here it goes. So I'm testing my hour meter to see if it works. Well, it's not working, but I'm trying to figure out why. The instrument itself could be not working. And to find out if that's the case, test to see if power is reaching the cables. So here's positive and here's the negative. And I've got that wired up to my multimeter. Time the key is engaged, that should send electricity to that. There's juice. So that tells me right there, the gauge itself is not functioning. Those gauges cost like 80 bucks or something like that to replace. Okay, the engine has been running for 7.5 minutes. And checking the hour gauge, which I just now installed, is just now clicking over to 2/10 of an hour. So it's working. So I'm testing the main today. That's kind of the main point. The wind is blowing pretty good. We're going 4.5 knots just under main alone, going downwind. And wind is going, wow, over 15. Woo, it's really blowing hard. So we are going much faster now. We're going about 5.5 knots, and we're going, that's speed over ground, and we're going against about a 2-knot current. So we're going, wow. The winds have picked up to 15 knots. It's holding and it's gusting up to like 25 knots. So since this is winter time, I took off my cutter sail, which is the sail you would use in this kind of wind to beat against the wind. So all I have for a head sail is 150% Genoa. For beating against, you know, 25 knot winds, it just doesn't work very well. It gets crazy. So I really am missing the cutter sail right now. I have dropped my sails and am motoring against the wind at this point. Since it gets dark in like 3 hours. All in all, it was pretty exciting. I learned some new things about my boat today. Every once in a while, a really strong gust will come. We're only making it about 3.5 knots against the wind.